And with me, guess who I have? Julie Muse. Julie, how are you?
Oh, doing good, doing good.
Well, I want to talk about a topic that I think, Julie, everyone's faced.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't, this is not just like only successful people or only not successful people, but I think this is one of those things that we all go through. And that is really the concept of time. Some people, in my opinion, use time to their advantage, and some people, as an excuse, use time to their disadvantage. One of the things you and I constantly hear about is, unfortunately, a lot of people that use time as a disadvantage. So I guess, what do you say to somebody that says, well, yeah, Julie, I'd love to be there, but I don't have time?
I think people would be very, very surprised just how much time they actually do have in their life. If you really were to sit down and like map out exactly what you do from the time you get up to the time you go to bed, which can sound daunting, you'd be surprised just how much time that you spend a day wasting your time. Let me give you an example. So there's a recent survey out that states, guess how many hours a day people right now are spending on social media? I mean, just take a wild guess.
3.5? 5? A day?
A day.
6?
13 hours a day.
Wow.
Someone is consciously and unconsciously spending time scrolling through social media. 13 hours, and that's on an average. This just came out. So that right there is a big time waster. But when you sit there and you look at your time in a day and what you do, you'd be really surprised just like how much time that you really have. And it's really about using your time wisely. I know everybody says that, using your time wisely, but it's true, right? You'd be amazed at what you could do like simultaneously to get information in.
One of the things like I personally found when we talk to people about whether or not they have time, and you and I both know everyone has time, I don't think most people realize just how much time they need, let's say, to become successful, right? Like, well, let's face it, I didn't. Like, I remember when I got started, I had no idea, like, really how much time on a daily basis that I need. So how do you address this whole misconception? Like, because here's what people think, like, well, every day I go to work for 10 hours a day. So they have this false sense of belief that in order for them to break out of that trap, they need 10 to, let's say, 15 hours a day to become successful. Is that really true?
No, absolutely not. So let's just break this down a little bit. Let's say someone works 8 hours a day or 10 hours a day. Let's say their commute to and from work, or whether it's at home, is, 30 minutes to an hour. So one really important thing is that I feel is staying motivated, right? And staying motivated could mean just listening to other successful people, listening to motivated things. A lot of time, like just on your way to work, while you're driving to work, and I used to do too. We live in Atlanta. My goodness, the traffic is crazy. So I would spend my time in the mornings, like I'm getting ready, doing my hair, my makeup, driving to work. I would spend it watching useless videos or listening to useless things. I might also spend my time listening to a morning radio show about funny things. To get my motivation in and to get my mind right, the moment that I decided to switch that, and instead of listening to mindless things on the way to work, I started listening to Les Brown, right? To Tony Robbins, to a ton of other people, just to get my mind right. Right? That's time that you need, because if you're going to go out there, you're going to start your own business, you've got to get your mind right first. Okay? Taking the same time that you spend doing other things and just changing what you're doing during that time will help get some things in. Like if you're looking to get into real estate investing, right? There's lots of stuff on YouTube. You might be in a training course now that you don't have to watch videos. You can listen to the audio. I mean, taking your minute time when you're getting ready in the morning, all right? Change what you're doing there and take that time and learn something new. listen to something. Oh man, Audible's great. I love listening to books. I'm not a big, and I hate this about myself, but I'm not a big sit here and read it and be able to comprehend the information. But if I hear the information in Audible, it's a lot easier to take in. I mean, wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah, no question. Another thing that I know constantly comes up with people, they tend to put a timeline on how long it's going to become successful. So like, how do you answer this question? Somebody comes to you and says, yeah, Julie, yeah, I'd love to have what you have, and I'd love to have a couple of houses, and I'd love to have the freedom of time. But like, how long from like today, how long is it before I can have everything you have? How do you answer that?
It's different for everybody. I mean, it really is different for everybody, because it's not just about the time, it's how you spend your time, okay? So, for example, if I am wanting real estate, I truly believe that you could be in real estate and leave your job with just 2 hours a day. Now, doesn't that sound crazy? Now, it's how you spend the 2 hours, okay? That's the most important. So, a lot of us will get into doing something like maybe you're talking to sellers, maybe you're pulling lists, maybe you're skip tracing, maybe you're working on contracts. 2 hours doesn't sound like that much time. But what happens is when you've got these 2 hours, what most of you are doing is you're distracted, right? Like if I'm going to make seller calls, you're sitting here, you're making your calls, and then you start scrolling through social media. Or then you take a call from your friend, right? Then you put clothes in the laundry. When you're going to do these actions as far as building your business, you've got to put away all other distractions. You would be amazed what you could do in 2 hours. Honestly, you could probably do in 2 hours what takes you 8 hours to do at your job during the day, if you're 1,000% focused, okay? Also, when you're working on a task in these 2 hours, I really believe in 2 hours a day, you can get in this business full time. You've got to take away all distractions during this time. And you're like, Julie, like I've got kids at night. I've got to get supper ready. Hey, I get it. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. You could carve out 2 hours in the morning, right? 2 hours when you get to bed, maybe on your lunch break. But the point is do not let distractions get in the way of your success. I see people that have like 1,000 tabs on their computer. I'm not a firm believer in that. When I'm working on one thing, I close that tab and I go to the next thing. If I'm doing my emails, like used to, I would check emails all day long. And I know, used to too, I'd be worried about checking my emails all day. Now I check my emails twice a day. I check it in the morning, and then also I'll go through them in the evening at night when I'm sitting there to delete all the junk that I get in there. So constantly touching something is inefficient. So if you go to like if you go anywhere and look at efficiencies, like if you're working in a factory, the more times I touch something, the less efficient it is. And the same goes, with what you're doing in real estate. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, 100%. One of the things that I like to do is sometimes I like to try to flip things totally upside down.
Yeah.
So tell me what you think about this. Like sometimes people will say like, the usual, what we're just talking about. I don't have the time. I don't have this. I don't have that. And think about this. This is what I'll tell them. I'll say something like, well, let's say you needed $1 million to be successful here. Can you do it? Oh, I can't do it. Isn't that great? You don't need $1 million to be successful here, but you do need time. And the reality is we all have the exact same amount of time. I don't care if you're the richest person in the world, you're not going to have any more advantage over the most broke person in the world when it comes time. So in reality, and talk about this a little bit, I think the fact that you but one of the main factors you need is to become successful. Again, we're using real estate investing. Is one of the main things you need is time. That's actually an advantage because we all have it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like thank God it's time. Thank God it's not like that you need a degree from Harvard Business School and
thank God.
Well, or be born into the right family or live in a certain city or bring $1 million. I mean, it really is an advantage that one of the key components is just time, right?
Absolutely. And then I'll tell you another hack, and Peter's a big firm believer in this. You can get more time at the end of the day and at the beginning of the day. Right?
Yep.
Some choose to put that time on the back side of their day. Some choose to put that on the front side of their day. What do I mean by that? Here's what I mean. Like right now, whatever time you wake up an hour earlier. That'll give you another. I mean, how do you feel about, because you're more on the front end, I'm more on the back end of this whole thing. So, I mean, how does that waking up earlier, I mean, what do you do in that time?
Well, the bottom line is this. Time is a resource. Just like having the right financial ability or not having the right financial ability is a resource. Just like having certain knowledge that, no question, that's a resource. Well, time is a resource also. And even though it's spread out evenly among the whole world's population, reality of it is you're right. Some people use it to their advantage, some people use it to their disadvantage. If I could just create 1 extra hour a day, and like you said, do the right thing, right? It's not just create an hour a day and, sleep in, or have created an hour a day and, be on social media for that hour. But if I can create 1 extra hour a day and actually do something that'll propel me 1 hour closer to my goal, that's a huge hack. So how people say, well, how do you create an extra? There's only 24 hours a day. There is. But what everyone forgets, there is what I call idle time. Almost a lot of times we're involved in competitive things in order to become more successful. That's an extra 365 hours a year that you gain over your competition. Like if you're running a marathon and somebody gave you an extra 300, hours. Now for me, being kind of slow, that probably won't mean much. But I can tell you, for most people, if you're running a race and you get an extra 30 seconds on a sprint to get started, or an extra 30 minutes in a marathon to get started, that gives you a huge, huge, huge advantage. So literally, all of us, for this, there's some people listening to this and they're like, I don't have it. I just don't have it. I'm just book solid. I promise you, every single person has that idle time, and you can create more time out of that.
So I go on dates with my husband. You go on dates with Ira, right? And you're like, well, it's hard for me to find a date timer to get our relationship better. Think about this. How many times do you go to the restaurant and you're sitting there watching somebody and they're doing this the entire time?
Right.
They're literally the entire time looking on their phone.
Right.
It's about spending your time wisely. So when you go to dinner with Ira, or I know when I go to dinner with Brian, I make a conscious effort to put my phone on silence, put it in my pocketbook, and don't look at it. Even though mentally, I can't even tell you how many times I think about picking my phone up. I don't know, do you do that?
100%.
But if I truly want to take my time, this hour or hour and a half when I'm out to dinner with my husband, and I want to make it quality time because maybe I've got other things going on, I'm not going to pick my phone up and look at it and look at social media the whole time. Are you?
Nope.
I mean, time is valuable.
Absolutely. So what I'm hearing you say is this: don't use time as an excuse. And
it's how you use your time that's an excuse.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, I guess the bottom line is this, and you and I both have seen it, been there, and heard people say it, but time is actually on your side. Time really is on your side because time is the one thing that is literally an equal playing field. It's like I said, whether you're the richest person in the world or the most broke person in the world, we all have the exact same time. So don't use something that you have as much as any successful person. Don't use that as an excuse. Use that as an absolute advantage. Absolute advantage. Bottom line is everyone's got the resource to become successful, and time is that resource. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this incredible episode. Julie, thank you so very much, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Julie Muse Podcast.